What's up, everyone? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel, and it is time to give you my official prediction for the upcoming 2022 Big 12 Championship game between the Kansas State Wildcats and TCU Horned Frogs. This is a game that's going on this weekend. We'll give you an official prediction here for this weekend's game. We'll go through the game summary and go through the stats between these two teams, give you the stat comparison between these two teams, and also we will obviously give you a prediction at the end of this video, and also give you that score prediction as well, like how we done it in the first 2 days with the ACC and the Big 10. Now we're on the Big 12. We're heading into Conference Championship weekend. Will TCU remain unbeaten, or will Kansas State pull off a huge upset here in the Big 12 Championship? All right, let's get right into it here with my Big 12 Championship game prediction. We're going to start with the stats here for both of these teams. The passing yards for Kansas State. They're averaging about 211.5 yards per passing. I think Will Howard's pretty much, stepped up his game. I mean, Adrian Martinez went down, in the season. And now Will Howard comes off the bench. He's played pretty well for this team. I think he's pretty much, the bright future of this Kansas State team at quarterback. And he's a junior, so he has one more year. Adrian Martinez is a senior, so I don't really see him coming back in this one. But this is a Kansas State team that can also run the football. They're averaging about 210 yards a game in rushing. This is a team that can run the football pretty well. I mean, they got Deuce Vaughn at running back that's pretty good. I mean, he's got 7 touchdowns overall this season, but he's rushed over 1,000 yards. I mean, the running game's pretty strong, though, overall for this Kansas State team. They're averaging about 33.4 points per game. I mean, that's pretty good for Kansas State. They don't really, they're not up there with, the big time numbers with all those other teams. But yeah, this is a team that can score, offensively. And they can also, like I said, just run the football pretty well. And offensively and defensively in the rankings, they're like 41st on offense, and defensively they're 45th. Yeah, that kind of concerns me a little bit for Kansas State on their offense. But this is a team that I think can score some points on this TCU team. For TCU, they're averaging about 274.8 yards per game. I think Max Duggan is a Heisman contender. I mean, he's played pretty well this season, and this is a team that, can pass the football pretty well. And if they can give him, plenty of time to throw the football in the pocket for this game this weekend, he's pretty much going to have a good game, and that's what I really expect out of him this weekend. He might play his best game here. And as we guys know, TCU did defeat Kansas State earlier in the matchup, and we know that happened as well. They won that game by 10 points in that one. This is a TCU team that, can run the football a little bit as well. Keandre Miller is the leading rusher for this team. He has about 16 rushing touchdowns this season and about over 1,260 yards. So yeah, TCU can run the football pretty well. I mean, this is a team that, can just pass the football, and this is a really good explosive offense. They're averaging about 41.1 points per game. I mean, this team ranks in the top 10 in points per game. I mean, that's pretty good for TCU. They are just a great offensive team. I think that really helps them with Max Duggan at quarterback. I mean, this team, can just really score offensively, and I think they will do that again this weekend. But like I said, this team also needs to run the football pretty well in order to get back, to running ways. Offensively, though, in the rankings, TCU ranked 16th in the country on offense. The defense is what concerns me, though, for TCU, is they're 73rd in the country on defense. Yeah, that really concerns me there for TCU. If they can't really, get their defense going. The secondary is kind of, the worst thing for them. I mean, the defensive line is pretty good, but yeah, the defensive ranking is just really concerning to me for TCU. If they can't stop the running game, I think their defensive line is good enough to stop the running game, but if their, secondary kind of starts to fall apart, that's going to really, be in bad shape for TCU when they play this game this weekend. Those are the stats between those two teams. Looking at the stats for both of these teams, I think TCU has the advantage over the points per game. I mean, obviously, but the passing game is what's going to win the game for TCU. The running game is what's going to win the game for Kansas State. Now, defensively, it's what's going to win them the game as well between these two teams. So, all right, let's go into the game summary here. Kansas State versus TCU. Kansas State is 9-3 on the year. TCU is 12-0. This game will be at noon Eastern Time on ABC. It's in Arlington, Texas, so it's a big place to play. TCU is favored by 2.5 points, so that's a pretty close line there for TCU, and the over and under is at 62. So, yeah, Kansas State's last few games, let's go back to their last 5 games. They shut out Oklahoma State on October 29th. They lost to Texas in a close game at home. They beat Baylor and West Virginia on the road. West Virginia scored points in that game, and they defeated Kansas last week, 47-27, so they won that game by 20. TCU's last 5 games have been pretty interesting. 4 out of the last 5 have been pretty interesting. They had a 10-point win against West Virginia on the road, beat Texas Tech by 10 at home. Then they beat Texas and Baylor on the road in tough games. They had a game-winning field goal in that Baylor game, and they defeated Iowa State this past weekend 62-14. So, yeah, TCU had a better game last weekend. That was probably the best game I've seen them play all year long. So TCU has a couple of comebacks in there that have been pretty tough this season. And this could be one of those games where they come back once again. But looking at both of these teams, the comparison between these two teams are just pretty even. The FBI, though, is giving TCU a 53% chance to beat this Kansas State team, and they are also giving a 46% chance for Kansas State to beat TCU in this game this weekend. So that's the game summary there. Noon game here. It's in Arlington, Texas on ABC. All right, let's get to the prediction now. Kansas State is 9-3. TCU is 12-0. These two teams met back then in the regular season. TCU did win that matchup by 10 points, 38-28. I think it's going to be kind of similar to the earlier game, but it's going to be more interesting. Maybe a low-scoring type game. You got 2 great quarterbacks, though, going at it here between Will Howard and Max Duggan. Kansas State can run the football. That's going to be the key there for them, but TCU can pass the football. I think the key for them is going to be on defense. Their secondary is what really concerns me. Defensive line, though, I think is pretty good to stop the running game of Kansas State. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting game. I think it will be a defensive game, though. I think that's how it goes. And I think Kansas State will be up at the half. I think TCU, like I said, they come back in those really big deficits, and I think that's going to happen. I got TCU winning the Big 12 championship by 3 points here. I got them winning it 24-21. That's my score prediction for TCU over Kansas State. Now, TCU, if they lose this game, they're pretty much out of the playoff, and some other team could get in there. This one was a really tough game to call. I mean, it's between 2 great Big 12 teams. Kansas State is pretty much of a big underdog in this one, but this is a good Kansas State team. They are a decent team, and also they can just, flat out and also play against this TCU team. But this will be a good one here. I think, going into halftime, Kansas State will be up, like I said, but I think a turnover also really changes the game here. Maybe TCU wins by a game-winning field goal like they did against Baylor a couple weeks ago. Maybe that happens, but yeah, I got TCU winning it here by 3 points against Kansas State in the Big 12 championship, 24-21. Let me guys know what you think about this prediction, and also make your prediction down in the comments below. Who do you think will win this game? Will it be TCU or Kansas State? And let me know what your score prediction is as well. And keep subscribing to this channel, and also stay tuned here for more on the Lucas Ross Sports Channel.